everybody, and watch out because it's the sudden death episode of the Large Blast podcast. I'm your host, Stoney, aka the Juggalo Jeremy Clarkson, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow host, Matt.
Want a lady on the street, but a freak in the bed.
And Welshie.
Death is not a true end.
And we're here to talk a little bit about Warhammer 40,000, and we're going to get things kicked off with a little rundown of stuff that's been going on in our hobbies lives in the section we call Hobbies Goings On. So, Welshie, what's been going on in your hobby life?
Oh, well, my hobby life got a bit interrupted. I finally accepted, after our Chaos episode, last episode, I accepted Papa Nurgle's blessings. I went fully with the numerology and got myself a nice dose of COVID. So that knocked me out for a little bit, but it reset me. Papa Nurgle, you know, we were saying he's decay and he is life. You might be able to see it behind me there, guys, but I've completely cleared my painting desk. I finished the 20 gargoyles that I've been painting, which has been hell. I finished the 3 venom thropes. The hive mind has been added to, and I'm clear and ready to get back to some of the freehand on the night. So I've been reset.
He's been reborn from the sludge, the gooey sludge of COVID. He has arisen. What about you, Matt? What have you been up to in your hobbies goings on?
I just continuing to work on my sister, and I just starting to get really
just to clarify,
excited.
You don't have an actual sister there, Matt. I think.
my battle sister army, or in other words, my sisters of battle army, but also starting to get really excited about all these guard rumors. Really, really excited. And I painted some old classic, well, not classic Cadians, 20-year-old Cadians.
I see you were in your shed, Matt. I saw from your Instagram that you were in your childhood Warhammer shed.
Back in the Warhammer shed, painting Imperial Guard heavy weapon team.
A bit of a proper regression session, straight back in mum's shed, painting some 20-year-old models. Oh wow! Well, so what are some of these rumors? I mean, new Rough Riders, things like that. What's tickled your fancy?
Well, the rumors of the Rough Riders, I think that's quite cool. And I mean, to be honest, I've not missed a Guard Codex. I've always got one to hand, so I'm probably gonna invest in that anyway. But the Cadian, the Kaskan, which are the special forces that we've spoken about a few times, like the Cadian Stormtroopers. Always love those models. Invested in some metal ones on eBay a few years ago, but the rumors are that plastic ones are coming out. We had them in one of the news segments not too long ago, and that's quite exciting. New plastic Stormtroopers that are like classic Guard. That's cool. And
new armor. Is there rumors of new armor?
Yeah, well, there's rumors of the Rogel Dawn tank. Which
yes,
a bit funny, but also there's people have seen photographs of different heavy weapon teams, which I'm kind of excited about. Although I've now managed to amass quite a big collection, so I just hope they keep the base size the same. As long as they keep the base size.
When I saw your heavy weapon squad, that it'd be cool if they brought down some of the current Primaris weapons, right? Heavy weapon squads are heavy bolters, las cannons. If they bring down some of the new las talons or some of the new melter stuff that exists for Primaris into the Guard, that would be quite cool potentially for the stat line boosts and things.
I suppose, I guess, and they could write that into the theme. But you know, all I really care about is as long as the base sizes are the same, then my army is still kind of legit valid. So, and tanks and all sorts of things. New commissar model, possibly a new kind of Creed model. There's rumors, although some people are saying it could be his daughter.
Well, I mean,
sounds like an insane rumor because he's in the Necron thing.
We've got to get a Yarrick.
I mean, come on.
Your scenic base to put him next to the new Gaz model would sell really well. I think people would want that.
They should.
People that didn't have Gaz that wanted Yarrick would buy Gaz if it came out with a scenic base and vice versa.
Games Workshop they've definitely taken design cues from Forge World over the last 20 years, and something we've spoken about previously. And I just think they, at some point, whether it's Commissar Yarrick or not, who knows, but at some point I think they're going to cotton on to this idea of having different models that you can buy separately that then kind of connect together somehow into a bigger display, and I can see that.
What about you, Stoney? What's been taking your fancy?
Oh, well, since last we spoke, I've done a test print of my Genestealer Cult limo. Unfortunately, there was a little miscommunication in what size I wanted it, and they printed it more like a tiny toy car.
And that was an excellent image you sent us.
Yeah,
maybe I should get that up on the Instagram, actually.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying, but does prove that it can print. And one of the things, when I recontacted my mate that's been printing stuff for me, they pointed out that they do actually need their printer for working. So when I'm sending them 30 odd hour prints to print, they would rather I didn't, kind of thing. So, but I am up for, because I now know this prints, I am up for, good on my word, making this available to listeners. So if you do want a copy of the Genestealer Cult limo to print yourself, drop an email to largeblastpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll send you the STL that you can have a print of it. But yeah, you'll have to fuck around with the size, because apparently it's either comes out it's either when you put it into the file, it's either too big to fit in your printer, or comes out like a tiny little car, apparently. So I fucked up the size somewhere down the line, but I can send you the dimensions of the one that I've made, and you can try to print it to those. So, yeah, have at it. But another thing that I've been doing is I was having a little think about, like, we were talking about all this Civil War stuff and that with the like the lion coming back and whatnot.
Yeah,
like we're going like, oh, maybe the lion will come back and there'll be like a civil war between the kind of the people that think the emperor's a god and like the ones that weren't. And we've always been a bit like tepid on the idea. But I was kind of thinking, actually, like, it might be quite cool if you did it in kind of like an Inquisitor style game. So not like on the battlefield kind of thing. Actually kind of behind the scenes, you had this other game of like intrigue and like, oh shit, maybe the lion's going to come back and fuck up Guliman and like, all of that. Then that might actually be quite cool, and might actually pave the way for some more interesting lore in the future, because it makes it a bit more grimdark by fluffing it up a bit like that. Like, because that's one of the things about 40k is it walks this really fine line between cool and fucking ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and I feel like if they went down the Civil War route that we talked about on past episodes, now it would probably be kind of more on the ridiculous side. Whereas if they kind of fluffed it up a bit with some cool kind of like Inquisitor style side gameplay, like maybe they redo the like role plays or something, and they're all this kind of like weird intrigue, like interior intrigue.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that's a really good idea, and I think games like that would have to go down that way, because as soon as you get into the deeper, darker lore, your understanding of like Imperium or Chaos is very blurred. Like the people on the Inquisitors on the Imperium side, when you look at it in microscopic details, will definitely just kill off their rival, regardless of whether they believed in the Emperor or not.
It's
like,
definitely you're going place down for it, like a trying to choose your own adventure where you start going down. And you either kind of end up as Luther or you end up as the lion, or is Luther and the lion on the same side, like that kind of like redoing Dark Heresy, where you progress. You don't just progress to a Space Marine depending on your choices, you progress in one direction or the other. Or one of those, Matt, you were listening to the audio dramas you recommended. That's the right kind of place for something like that.
Yes,
I've just started listening to the Batman audio drama, and it's nice having a kind of drama to get your teeth into and just listen to, Archers style.
Oh man, somebody should make a Warhammer Archers.
It's the news. Wow. It's the chuffing news.
Have you heard 6s are now 4s?
It's the news.
Genestealer limo's back.
News. Fire up the Chainsaw Corn, fans, because World Eaters are getting their very own shiny new codex. We've got some chain axes on our screens here. We've got some blood for the blood god. We've got some skulls coming out of everywhere. So, and hopefully this is finally going to be new fucking Corn Berserker models as well, because they are still some of the goofiest models on the board.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. No timeline.
This is exciting. So this was released on Warhammer Fest. This was one of the reveals. If you're listening to this and you want to see what we think about all the models, head over to our YouTube at some point soon to hear our reviews on those. But this is big. This is well, it's not quite new faction, but they certainly haven't had their own standalone codex since I've been playing 40k.
Yeah, I mean they've had they've had like the demon kin one, the Khorne demon kin, where you could play only Khorne stuff and with Khorne demons. So that was quite cool. But yeah, I mean, hopefully this is the start of every Chaos faction getting their own one, isn't it? Because I mean, well, I mean, you've got I guess you've already got Thousand Suns and Plague Marines, but yeah. So one eventually. Yes. I mean, Slaanesh always. Everyone knows Slaanesh always comes last. That's where you roll.
But the big question is he going to be in?
Is he coming back? Is he in it? Is he?
He's got to be.
Big boy.
He's got to be. I mean, I know we've been lauding the Emperor's Children Codex and the return of
it's still coming
for
obviously.
Years.
It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, anything's inevitable. But we've also discussed about Angron coming back. And we're on here. He's gonna be in this one. He's got to be, isn't he?
Surely. So I watched the little video where they talked about this coming out. Some of the games designers, and in that video they confirmed that the Khorne Berserkers would be getting a brand new kit, which hopefully will be exciting. Like you say, Stoney, I know you've wanted them for ages. They confirmed that there will be more than one new type of completely new unit, which makes sense, and that would be cool to see. There was no heavy hints towards Angron, but there certainly wasn't anything that completely shut it down in that video. And they also said, if you're a World Eaters player, that in the stopgap before this happens, there will be some new kind of intermediate rules in White Dwarf coming for World Eaters as a kind of beta rule set, I guess, for before the Codex comes out. So that's cool. I was thinking what the new units could be. I mean, it's not going to be a Lord of Skulls. That's too big. But maybe like a new brass scorpion would be cool. A plastic brass scorpion model. That's ancient and not that big. I mean, it's big, but it's not huge.
They redid Khan fairly recently, didn't they? So it's doubtful that they have him again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is exciting for them.
So stop the fucking presses. The squats are clones? Wickedy what? This is some weird info that's come out of a recent article that Games Workshop has released. I think it's Games Workshop, right? Or at least something
official
like that.
Warhammer community.
Official Warhammer community. These jacked up fucking bits of lore have come out. And Welshie, do you want to talk us through some of what you've discovered?
Yeah, I'll do my best. It was difficult to get my head around it all, to be honest. We know that these are now the leagues of Votann that are off out in the galaxy. We know that they're calling themselves the Kin, and Games Workshop have kind of elaborated on what the Kin are and how they're linked to these things called ancestor cores, which sound like big supercomputers that kind of had all of their history that may have been lost, kind of squat NTC type things. But it said that one of the truths the Kin know is that they've been cloned from the start, and they're calling themselves clone skins or clone skeins, which I find weird. The system, it says that during cloning, they were given mutations, like built-in X-Men style mutations, distinct body odors, radiation resistance, infrared sight, like these weird, so like superpowers built into them. And their souls are engineered to be really dim against the warp and the Imperium. So they're kind of dimmed souls, but then some of them can like access technology which lets them access the Imperium. What do you think's going on, boys? Because this is confusing as hell.
Well, Stoney, what do you think?
I think that sounds like a clusterfuck to me. So what's going on? They're a bunch of superheroes with dim souls that have to that can choose what? They choose the Imperium, they log on, and I don't know what's going on.
I read the bit about their like supercomputers. What do they call them?
The ancestor cores.
Yeah, the ancestor core, where like it said that they're filling up with so much data that whoever built them hadn't prepared for them to be used for like 10,000 years, and that they've got a problem. They need to like solve it, but they're like, some standard template constructs there, and the AdMech's going to want a bit of it.
Because we've always talked about how every race in 40k is kind of dying in its own way. It's this huge fight for survival, about it. Maybe that's can be their thing. Clock. Is they're like, all the batteries are running down on the fucking ancestor machines, and they've got to, do a fucking alien technology into the furnace or some shit to keep it going.
Is this like a modern day 40k moral? You know, we hear about us having to store all of our videos and endless bloody TikToks in these massive warehouses that are cooled under nuclear power plants. You know, is this kind of modern day morality seeping into 40k?
Maybe this is Games Workshop trying to like say like, hey, don't look at us making plastic miniatures. Look at all the people making all the digital stuff. They're much worse than us.
This is for an army for Greta Thunberg. That's what you're saying, Matt.
The stuff.
What, all the models like whittled out of wood or something?
The stuff about the cloning is weird because your summary then just kind of made me think like, who do we know is the master of cloning and genetics and genetic engineering in the universe?
Is this Fabius Biles' super race? Is that what you're saying? He's finally succeeded.
The Emperor, and they're so like weirdly Imperium but non-Imperium, and they've appeared right now when the rift has come across the galaxy, when the Imperium needs some sort of ally most of all, and they're clone. I don't know, because the clone laboratories are all on the moon, weren't they?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm so unexcited about these fucking squats. I'm just going to stop it here, boys. I just don't care about these fucking squats. I'm just going to say it outright.
More squat news.
What about that new model though, Stoney? That's a squat from Necromunda. We like the Necromunda squats. That's a real life squat with an S. Not a foreskin.
He looks like he's got like an old school phone camera stuck on his back. Like I don't know what these guys are, man.
Like a pod, one of those Go pods or whatever they're called.
I like their old law. They got shrunk by gravity. They got pissed off with people. You know, that's what they were about. What's this new shit?
Angry Welshmen in armor.
That's what I was after. That's what I wanted. Riding around on the trikes, not floating around looking like Santa's little helper, talking shit about being clones and whatnot. So new chapter approved, which means there's going to be some changes coming to competitive play. Is that right?
Yep, spot on.
Cool.
So if you've been listening recently, you'll know that Matt and I haven't been playing too much competitively recently. It all got a bit much. But there's a new chapter approved that's got a few bits worth mentioning, I think. Command points are decreasing. So the amount of command points you have at the start of a battle will be about half of what it is now, which might go some way to reducing the bloat and the endless stratagems that come at you that you don't really know are coming. But it still seems like you'll be able to access everything. You just won't be able to do it as often. And then as the game goes on, you build command points quicker. So you will have more ability to use stratagems late in the game and less ability to turn one, use like 8 stratagems in a row and really mess up your opponent. So I think that's a good thing. Matt, what do you reckon about that?
I tend to agree. I just sudden realization when I read this news when it came out a while ago, a few days ago, it didn't really faze me at all. But I've just worked out that it means I'm gonna have to buy another book.
Yeah.
So they're every 6 months now.
Yeah.
And I knew that because they told us that. But I decided this year it'd just be easier to buy chapter approved because it's got the missions in and we play at the local club occasionally and we play in the tournament. It's just easier to have it in paper format. So I thought I'd buy it, and now it seems like a pointless decision because I've used it for one tournament.
Yeah.
And now I don't really want to buy it again, but I do want to play. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
send us. I won't be buying it. I will be finding these rules online when I can because I spend endless amounts of money buying Warhammer toys, and they should support updates to the game for free, which they've said they're doing for points. Points will now be updated online for free. It's a step in the right direction.
Well, so did you used to have to buy a new book with points in?
Yeah.
Well, we'd use Battlescribe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
It is ridiculous that these books. I know people have to work on these books and doing these books, but these small changes and mission write-ups should be part of being part of the game and the company.
Well, when they're coming out every 6 months, and they have a monthly magazine that it could come out in. This could be part of White Dwarf. I mean, well, give them a year. I reckon that's what they'll do.
One other thing that's in the new chapter approved, rewrites for all of the army-specific secondaries. So if you play the game currently, you'll know army-specific secondaries can be very unbalanced. Some armies' ones are just ridiculous. They will be getting full rewrites for every army, I believe, in this book. So that's a rebalance. They'll even be getting rewrites for codexes that aren't out yet. So that's good. If you haven't even bought the Astra Militarum Codex, Matt, you know that you've got some rewritten secondaries in this for you.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here today on the Large Blast podcast as we take a look at some of Warhammer 40,000's greatest heroes with the Pride of Warhammer Awards. And to kick things off, we've got a very special celebrity guest, Hollywood fat man, Mr. James Corden.
Hello to everyone at Pride of Britain from the Late Late Show here in Los Angeles. The superstar that I want to pay tribute to this evening. He's 80 years old. He has the voice of Frank Sinatra, and instead of Sunset Boulevard, he likes to cruise the mean streets of Blackburn, Lancashire.
Okay, James, I'm not sure that you understand. This is actually a Warhammer 40,000 event. Oh, he's taken his check and run off. I don't know how he continues to get work. Oh, well, thanks everybody for joining us here. Let's, without further ado, get on with things and look at some of the heroes of 40k and their noble deaths. So everybody knows the death count in 40k is through the roof. Billions and billions of trillions of fuckers, all of them, from Tyranids to orcs to men and everybody. But what are the most interesting ways? We've done worst ways, but what are some of the more interesting deaths worthy of note? So we thought we might kick things off with the death of an Eternal. And we're talking about Vulcan, because he died many, many times, didn't he, Welshie?
Too right. So yeah, I'll sprinkle in some 30k as we discuss this stuff. But Vulcan is a great place to start because he is indeed a perpetual. He isn't able to be killed, or so we currently think. And I think he's a great place to start because he's been killed so many times. He's been killed most times by which of his brothers, gentlemen?
Kurz,
too damn right. Gets him off of the floor after Istvan, puts him on his ship, and kills him over and over again. I've listed just some of the ways. Beheads him, rips his throat out with a fork, rips his limbs off all simultaneously. He eviscerates him, and when none of that works, he steps up a gear. He fires 100 bolters at him at close range, just firing into him. He puts him in the starship venting shaft. So as the starship accelerates out, he toasted Vulcan. That didn't work. He even takes his clothes off and fires him naked into space for a while just to see if that would work. But nope, that does not work either. So he just keeps trying over and over again. And when he can't break his body, he tries to break his mind. So he has these Davenite priests kind of go into his mind and they put him through a series of like saw tasks. So instead of Kurz killing him, Vulcan basically has to kill himself in order to save people. So there's like a classic big brick. It's lowering down and it's about to crush a load of humans. And the only way Vulcan can stop it is by like ripping out his own limbs. It's pretty rough. But eventually Vulcan manages to escape Kurz's grasp because Kurz accidentally gives him back his hammer, and his hammer's got a teleporter on and he didn't know about. So Vulcan teleports away from this hell into the atmosphere of Macragge, and then like a comet crashes through the atmosphere, burning up with no armor to like a crispy cinder and lands as like a crispy cinder on Macragge, and then takes a while to wake up and then goes fucking berserk on Macragge. So he's been through it all. And he's even when John Grammaticus actually uses I've written to write this down, the Fulgurite, which is a petrified bolt of the Emperor's psychic will, fuses it into a spear and stabs Vulcan, because apparently that's the only way you kill a perpetual. They throw him in a volcano back on Nocturne, and he still comes back to life. So I don't know if he can win the award for best deaths, but certainly most deaths.
He's very experienced at them, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, surely in the universe of 40k, the best deaths are the ones that like don't kill you.
You
in a way, if that makes sense. Yeah,
you can rise stronger like a phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, every time I look at deaths in 40k, it's evident that like there's so many fates worse than death.
Does he kind of die and come back to life again, Vulcan?
Yeah.
He just kind of like
he dies.
really dies.
He's not invincible. He like literally that bit where he lands on McCrag. He lands and people think he's a statue because he's just like a cinder, and then slowly kind of like Deadpool style, grows back from little pieces on the ground. But it's weird. The thing that I was thinking when I saw this, because obviously all the Primarchs inherit stuff from their dad, right? They've all got an aspect of the Emperor. The Emperor is a perpetual. We know that because he's lived forever. But if Vulcan's perpetual nature comes from the Emperor, why is everyone so worried about the Emperor dying? Won't the Emperor just come back?
Because I think
isn't the Emperor like using all his power, like he would be able to regenerate, but he's too busy, like trying to like hold everybody back.
It's Magnus, the hole that Magnus built, holding the underneath the golden throne.
I know what you're saying, but
Terror would fall.
I just die quickly.
It's a theory. It's a theory. It's a theory that he's a perpetual. They don't know if he is. So if you kill the Emperor and then he isn't.
That's true.
That'd be the worst death in 40k. there's no coming back from that. Although that's
imagine the High Lord that finally got that to float at the meeting. Like, let's just do it. Okay, we're with you.
I don't know if I can't remember if we spoke about it in the episode we talked about the Grey Knights, but that's the button that's on. Is it on Terror or is it on Titan?
Hidden under the throne in a box.
Yeah. The button, what's like the Doomsday button or whatever it's called. And the rumor is that it's like a self-destruct button because the Grey Knights and the Inquisition through Malcador know that he's a perpetual, and that's the Grey Knights' ultimate act will be to kill the Emperor,
control
so that he's
delete,
reborn,
restart.
But Earth will like fall, because where does he wake up? Who knows? So many questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he just reforms, I guess
this is hypothetical death.
Yeah, I don't
he's
know.
Still alive. But this is what I mean.
It'd be quite funny if you push the button under there and it just like the Emperor just starts waving. It's got like robotics in him. He's like a ride at like Chessington World of Adventure or something. Or he reads your thumbprints or something. And like a car. A ticket comes out of him like on Big.
I was just thinking that Votan or whatever. Voltron.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
A great Imperio. Fortune. Well, okay. Well, I want to talk about one fun character, because as you guys know, I'm a big fan of old Macarai. If we're talking about immortals, like things like the true immortal of Warhammer 40k is Macarai, Ghazghal's mate, because he was around in was it first and second edition, I think, on the old school Ghazghal, and he had this like crazy armor save because he had all like he had Terminator armor because he had all like medals and stuff on him, and he was like super lucky, so he was really hard to kill. I mean, he was shit. He didn't really do anything, but he was cool to have, and he was hard to kill. And I think in the lore, what happened around third edition when they got the old Ghazghal model was he sat on Macarai and disappeared until what was it? 8th edition they redid Gaz? Was it not?
Yeah.
End of 8th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means there was a whole
5.
There's a whole 5 rule sets where Macarai was basically Ghazghal's butt plug, as far as I can tell, because he came back, he wasn't anywhere else. He was literally just inside Ghazghal that entire time, and that is a true champ, I reckon.
Yeah,
so
I reckon so. Do you think Vulcan could come back from Ghazghal's butthole?
Yeah.
I think that's more of a Fulgrim type thing. If the Fulgrim was in a curse position, he might try to start shoving, Primarchs up other Primarchs' buttholes.
One that's just come to mind, actually, if we're starting, in a way, we're starting at the bottom of the pile and we're building up. And there's no bigger sacrifice than the almost daily sacrifice of guardsmen across the galaxy. And in terms of best deaths, there's probably innumerable circumstances where 10, 20, a platoon or a company of guardsmen are holding off an enemy force long enough to, I don't know, get some message out, get some telepathic signal that some invasion's happening. And although it's not a specific example, I would like to express my gratitude to the guardsmen of the Imperium
We have a moment of silence for the
yeah,
God.
we have a moment, yeah. And while they're esteemed, famous heroes,
Matt, you can sit down.
Fall.
It's okay. Sit down.
All right, okay. I am standing up, ladies and gentlemen. But while we're talking about,
there's an orchestra behind him.
While we're talking about the Guard, I would like to mention again the Lord Solar Macarius, who is the Imperial Guard's greatest hero, one of the Imperium's greatest heroes. You do not need a Primarch when you have Alexander the Great in space.
And, is he still alive?
No, he's dead.
What happened to him?
He died in mysterious circumstances. So
just mysterious. That's not a heroic death. We don't even know. It's just mysterious. He's just mysterious.
He's on the bog like Elvis.
The thing it isn't, but that's the thing. I mean, that it isn't an heroic death, but it's shrouded in controversy. And his short life was cut. His life was cut short, but he has clones. So who knows? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. But
we need to know how he died.
He's done everything but talk about the death. You said it was shrouded in secrecy.
It is. I'll tell you how he died. He got jungle fever. I've got jungle fever. She's got jungle fever. He caught jungle fever on a planet. He conquered 1,000 worlds, and then he got conquered by jungle fever. And I think it's kind of weird that is there a more heroic death than dying of jungle fever? But people also think he may have been assassinated or he died from Nurgle. And it kind of made me think, like, is there any difference between dying from a disease and dying from Nurgle? Because are they just not the same thing?
I think that I think that Nurgle is different from disease. I think that the point, this is kind of what we were talking about last episode a little bit, but like I think that the point of like death in life is you die and it gives birth to new life, whereas when you die in Nurgle you just give birth to more Nurgle. It's a sort of a mockery of life rather than a true cycle of life. That's kind of that's why he's the enemy of Teach as well, because Teach is the Lord of change, and as soon as Nurgle stops things from changing because they're dead basically.
Okay.
So yeah,
but just rounding Macarius off, in a way his heroic deed was to die at the height of his power, and that he has been immortalized as a hero of the Imperium, whereas he could have fallen, like, what was that, Van Dyer or whatever he was called, who tried to take over the Imperium, and all these Danny Dyer, all these tried to take over Vic. I hope someone puts in like a Cockney accent.
That's what you're thinking of Danny Dyer, Matt.
I know what you're getting at there, though, Matt. You aren't getting it. I know it links back to Alexander again, doesn't it? That you've got somebody dying in the prime of their empire, the prime of their fame and ability and achievement, and that can be in itself, whether they just die of disease or whether they die in battle. Somebody dying at the height of their power is inspirational to.
Yeah, and he didn't lose
time to get shit.
He didn't. He didn't lose. He didn't fall on the battlefield. He didn't lose a conflict and die when he was escaping. He died from a natural cause. Like the enemies of the Imperium didn't defeat him. He is like undefeated.
That rings true through future generations, doesn't it? And somebody else whose death rang quite true through future generations, although maybe you would describe him as a pussy, Matt, because he died in battle, is old Metal Hands himself, Mr. Ferrus Manus.
This is the worst death of a
That's like the shot heard across the world or whatever it was called. Old mate, old Ferrus.
Is he the first to go? He is the first to go, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
although you could argue Horus is the first to go. But anyway.
You could argue that could be 2 or 2 or 20.
He was the first to be killed by another Primarch.
Yeah. So they're fighting on top of their hill. They've got their swapped weapons, right, as well. So they've both got, him and Fulgrim have got weapons they made for each other. So he's wielding a sword and Fulgrim's wielding his hammer, because they give the weapons back to each other. They're like, you're not my friend anymore. Take back your gift. it's a weird one because it's more about Fulgrim, isn't it? Because Ferris just dies, but it's more about Fulgrim because Fulgrim tries to stop. He tries not to kill him, but as Ferris goes to like finish Fulgrim off, Fulgrim pulls the lair blade out, and the lair blade basically takes over his arm and beheads Ferris. And it's a real moment where Fulgrim realizes he's been a cunt.
Yeah, he's shocked by it. It's one of those things where he's thought about it for a long time, isn't it? But the actual act of doing it is a real crossing a line that he hadn't quite known that he was ready or not for. But yeah, it's a strange fight because they are, like you say, there is this. They both have kind of moments of hesitation in that fight, sort of thing, don't they? So it's kind of.
It's kind of that epitome of brother. You get it from all of the various viewpoints in the books of all the Space Marines going, "Oh, this is odd, fighting my brother," but they are literal brother fighting brother, and it kind of sums that up. I learned a fact when I was revising for this though, that it birthed a demon. His death, that I didn't know, called the Sapphire King. Cool. So when he dies, there's this demon called the Sapphire King, which basically keeps coming up to Iron Hand's warriors because they get so angry and depressed because their Primarch's the first to die, that when they want to really give it all up, the Sapphire King kind of appears and goes, "Ooh, come over to Chaos. This is great. We'll make you happy." Cool. That I thought was quite cool. So we dedicated a whole episode to another Primarch that is dead. We probably should have said something about spoilers at the start of this. If you're new to 40k and we're ruining the whole of the Black Library for you, apologize. But that's Kurz, because I think Kurz has a really fucking cool death. And if you want to know his whole backstory, listen to our Kurz Making a Murderer. But the fact Kurz's last words are, "Death is nothing compared to vindication." And then he lets an assassin kill him to prove his dad wrong. And that's pretty badass, to be one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy and just be like, "Yeah, whatever, kill me. It's all shit anyway." Yeah, like, I think that's quite powerful.
It's the ultimate. It's the uber edgelord move. He doesn't even care anymore. He feels nothing. Nothing, Dad. I feel nothing inside. Just shoot me.
3 tears for sweet revenge, he cries. Yeah, exactly. I think that's epic. I think that is epic.
Yeah, I mean, we all know we've all developed a bit of a soft spot for Kurz on this show. I reckon over the years, we've done a few things about him, and yeah, it is a very cool goth end for a cool goth dude. I'm going to go back to the Orcs a little bit for another little bit of comic relief, because one of the funny things is that the Orcs end up kind of like dealing out kind of ironic justice kind of to the people that they capture and stuff. Not that Orcs really need a lot of slaves or anything, but they do end up taking captives here and there to sort of trade with other Orcs and things like that. And there's some of the things that are kind of like quietly poetic, because Eldar are quite thin and skinny. What they like to do is they like to pack as many Eldar, Dark Eldar as they can into the Eldar slave cages that they find on their spaceships and cram them in, and then kind of use the slave cage kind of like a rugby ball kind of thing to play games with, or just to smuggle the cage back. So that's kind of like a nice, like, serendipitous piece of justice dished out by the Orcs.
Yeah, that's
nice.
good.
And presumably those Eldar die. That is a pretty fun way to die.
I thought that the Dark Eldar might be kind of into it though, because it's just like a kind of a massive forced orgy. Like
a few episodes ago, we spoke about about computer games in 40k, and there's a particularly great death at the end of the Space Marine game on the Xbox and the PlayStation, where you Captain Titus, and you charge at the Chaos Terminator Lord, who is about to get turned into a demon. He's been laughing at you, and you've been like on the floor, and you managed to get up. You rugby tackle him off the spire, and you're both falling from orbit into the planet, and you have to like fight him as you're falling. And there's like rubble that you have to avoid, and you have to like steer him around the rubble as you're beating this guy up, and he's hitting back at you while he's trying to turn into a chaos demon. And then you get to a point where you grip his face, and you're like I keep saying, you're still falling into the planet. This world is like the chaos invasion is going on around you, and you're literally holding this guy's face and pulling his eye sockets apart. So Captain Titus of the Ultramarines is like, and you're there like guitar hero, like hey baby, and you're like pulling this guy's head apart as he's like taunting you and saying like all these chaotic corruption shit. And then well, if you press the right buttons in the right order, you do rip his face apart, rip his skull apart, and the chaos essence comes out of him. And I cannot remember how you survive the fall, but
you're a space marine.
He does. He's just I don't know what happens.
Star Wars style. He gets inside it, like, and he like cuts him open and gets inside. This will keep me warm and safe.
But when I played the game for the first time, I thought that was pretty cool, because normally in 40k, everything is like dying of disease, dying of natural causes, dying of chaos, whatever, corruption, dying on the battlefield, getting shot or something. But this is like hand-to-hand combat, falling down from the orbit of a planet.
Oh, you
ripping
rip the
you
last
apart.
boss's head open with your bare hands. That's a good Space Marine move.
And I love those bits of computer games where you have to press the buttons in the right order and then things happen on the screen.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my god,
computer games, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Trying to do it against time, like Parappa the Rapper. What a game!
Oh yeah.
Kick punch, all in the mind. Do we want another Primarch then? Should we tackle one of the big ones?
I want to know what happened to Gilliman's neck. What happened to Gulliman's neck? Like, how did he get his neck slit?
Slanesh. What's he called? Fulgrim cut him with a sword. But like, what, in the year 3030, 33,000.
33,000. Let's go with that. 33,000.
Like that. Yeah, I think so. It was a long time after the heresy.
He's like full chaos demon at that point.
Oh yeah, multi-arm.
Oh yeah, Fulgrim. Yeah. The same sword that cut what's its head off. Yeah, slashed Fulgrim and Gilliman's neck, and then he got put into stasis because he was like on the point of dying.
They often seem to rescue important people in 40k and put them in stasis boxes when they're on the verge of dying, don't they?
Yeah,
that's for sure. Someone who didn't get put in a stasis box though is the big angel himself, which has got to be one of the most epic deaths in Grimdark, right? He's fighting Kabanda. He's fighting like the bloodthirster of bloodthirsters and breaks him over his knee. Like just that image of Sanguinius flying up and grabbing a bloodthirster midair and snapping his back over his knee like Batman and Bane. It's just, that's pretty everything 40k, right? It's a stained glass window of joy.
Yeah. It's just like we were just saying with the final boss on Space Marine or whatever. Just like everyone's got massive guns and you just go in hand-to-hand combat. Twist someone's head off or something.
I think that's what makes spectacular death spectacular, right? Is when someone does something ultra heroic before they go to their death. So he's just done that. He's just killed the demon, and he doesn't just kill the demon, he throws the carcass into the Eternity Gate and essentially prevents any more demons coming through, just smashes it to pieces, and then goes, I've done that, I'm now knowingly going to go onto the ship to have a fight with my brother that I know I'm going to lose. Like, dutiful, heroic. He obviously gets completely fucked up by Horus, but like, what's going through his mind at that point? He's just killed the biggest thing going, and
he's got to save the Emperor.
It's just duty.
I mean, that's it.
Just got to do it. Yeah,
he's got to try.
Because, so does he know that it's a? I mean, does it help the Emperor in some way? Him going and getting fucked up, or like?
Well, that's to be decided, isn't it, Matt? You're nodding away there, but there's two schools of thought on this.
Yeah, there is, but I think anything like that's got to help, hasn't it? I mean, there's no way that giving the Emperor a few more moments doesn't help the Emperor.
Well, it's not just the moments. Some of the accounts and some of the bits in the lore for ages have been that he literally kind of smorg Bard the Boatman style actually causes a chink in Horus's armor.
Chink in the armor.
The Emperor then exploits. But yeah, that is duty. He knows he's going to die.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point, Horus has not killed a brother.
No, not.
So
not
in a way, he's sacrificed himself to because they do have all this. Even if Horus is in there but subsued by a demon or whatever, but he will have an emotional response to killing one of his brothers.
Well, he still offers him a chance, doesn't he? He still has, despite being ultra infused with chaos, still offers him the chance to join him under some form of control. And then he literally melts him with such a powerful psychic blast it resonates through the next 10,000 years, so that all of his sons turn into vampires. Like,
but that chink in the armor could be physically and emotionally, mentally, and
a metaphorical chink.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is. But yeah, this scene that we're building to here is the biggest death, right?
Yes.
Have people got any more before we talk about the next steps on the Invincible Spirit?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about the guardsmen.
No more guardsmen. So save it for VE Day or whatever.
I wanted to touch on Creed, as we're talking about Cadians and we're talking about new guardsmen. And in a way, he isn't dead, but to all sense and purposes, he is dead. His model is about to be removed from the Games Workshop website, whatever that means. And in a way, he died in a similar sort of fashion to Macarius, because he died at the height of his power. Cadia held the 13 Black Crusades. They held the 13th Black Crusade. It took a Blackstone fortress being thrown into a planet to cut it in half for Cadia to fall. And he survived by being Pokemon'd into a Necron stasis field.
Well, he's in a Tesseract arc. It is just like you say, someone else come along and put someone in a stasis field, but it's a real stasis field.
But he died like I don't know, in a way, I don't know if it's the best or the worst way to die, because would he have rather to have died falling for Cadia, or in a way he's kind of made Cadia continue to exist, so it's like the best way he could die. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think if I understand Tesseract arcs properly, he's not dead. He's reliving his last second over and over and over and over again in an infinite time loop.
Oh man, that's shit.
So that's definitely not worth losing your planet and remembering it over and over again for infinity.
I imagined he was frozen until what's he called came and played the video.
I don't know if it's frozen or it is just like a time loop. I'm not sure.
So who's that guy?
That was Creed, the Napoleon figure, the Creed, the Cadian guy, the metal figure that's in Lord the massive Castellan. Coat and a cigar.
Oh, that guy with the cigar.
Yeah. I mean, he could be in the Tesseract just having a big cigar for the whole time, for all we know. I don't know.
He's got I suppose if you look at it that way, he has an endless cigar, an infinite cigar to enjoy.
There's rumored photographs of some model that looks like him. Apparently his daughter's in the law, but it doesn't ring any bells with me. It'd be really
cool
funny
if he comes back, because he's only going to come back if Trazyn lets him out. There's no other way he comes back, so that means Trazyn's getting involved, which is fine.
I think it'd be quite cool to bring his daughter back. If not bring his daughter back, but if his daughter or a granddaughter was there and they were she's the remnant, and also that would kind of tie in with Games Workshop's trying to not have very sexualized female role models, because in 40k, that'd be I think that would be well on board for some female Creed. That'd be great.
Yeah, nice.
Bring it on.
Why not? That would be cool. Yeah, that would be quite good if they just did. I'd like to see that if they redid Creed, but just as a female version, like a big chunky lady in a coat with a big cigar. That'd be fucking cool as shit.
Not like he's had a sex change, but they're related.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, they'd be like, oh, yeah, his granddaughter. I'm here, ready to go. Let's get it on. Yeah. Let's get this fucking shit going.
You've all misunderstood the Tesseract arc. This is what really happens.
Yeah.
Hey man, I've just listened to some of this new squats lore. Anything's fucking possible, man.
The 70s,
the 80s, the 90s.
Ooh, we're going back in time.
Is that a space squat?
It's time we take you back with a blast from the past.
Okay, so on this blast from the past, we're looking at a fucking lead land speeder model, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, lead land speeders, they came out, we've all known about them, they're for Space Marines. Well, you're wrong, dickhead, because this has got some Imperial Guard guys in it. Would you believe that, Matt? What's going on with these Imperial Guard guys riding around in a fucking big old lead land speeder? This model looks like a living nightmare to put together before
it does, doesn't it? Or to keep it together. So with the Guard reinforcements inbound, possibly the Rough Riders, which is a classic Guard unit, written out the Codex, killed off, you might say. The Guard land speeder is another weird ancient unit that was most certainly killed off. But I always wondered whether this is a unit in a game now that you need fast-paced infantry or cavalry units in your army to move around the board. This could be something that could come back. I don't know if it will, but this is from the first edition of Warhammer. This is ancient model, and it is basically a old school Space Marine metal land speeder. So it's a metal block with 2 seats stuck on it and some floppy guys hanging out the side with a melter gun or a plasma gun or a missile launcher or a heavy bolter you could arm them with. So this is what, like 1983, I think, something like that. No,
but this looks
1987.
What's interesting about this looks more like a land speeder we would recognize today than the original Space Marine land speeders. Yeah, it's like those weird ski lift type things.
Yeah, it's slightly different to the Space Marine design.
I have this Land Raider, so I have a metal Land Raider.
Do you have the Guardsman?
I don't have the Guardsman. I have the Space Marine Land Raider, Land Speeder.
Is it the same?
It's almost exactly the same. Yeah,
right.
I think the pintle mounting is slightly different, but the engines and the front are the same, and the seats are the same, and the fact that it's almost impossible to glue together looks to be the same. But I never knew that you could get a version with the Guard in.
Yeah,
what I also love looking at the pictures that we're looking at is, despite the fact this must be one of the heaviest chunks of lead metal, the arms are still plastic.
Yeah,
as if that makes a difference.
That has got to just be a photograph that I found online.
Right. Okay. Someone's done. I don't know or something.
Yeah.
No, I mean they did used to make plastic arms back in those days. But also. Right. Like those stands, like we're looking at the people who remember, anyone who remembers the classic old stands that you used to get for any hover vehicle will remember the tiny shit little pin that you used to get on it to hold up your model, which was usually plastic and was too heavy for it. Looking at this cricket ball of lead, which they have bravely pivoted, I might add, as well. So it's not even straight on.
It's a jaunty angle.
It's jaunty. That poor little pin is working overtime. There's no way this model still looks like this.
But I think in the modern incarnation of 40k, I could imagine some sort of Imperial Guard land speeder. I really could.
Attack.
Even if
Guard have been crying out for a decent fast attack for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And talking of which, that's one of the rumors, is that there's new Sentinel models coming out. But anyway, so I don't think it will happen. But I could imagine like a Forge World, some sort of Forge World thing. But yeah, the land speeder was given out before the Horus Heresy was meant to have been given out to Planetary Defense Forces, Imperial Solar Auxilia, And actually, yeah, maybe Forge World would do a Solar Auxilia for 30k with a land speeder. Come on, Forge World, this should do this.
Think how fast this thing would be if you're a guardsman. If it's designed to
Yeah,
see two Space Marines,
you're not carrying like
you're
3-ton Space Marines. Yeah. There
you
should
can
be
only put
loads
it in
of
second
guardsmen
gear.
on the top
You just
of
put
this.
it's too quick. You haven't got the reactions for third.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, classic model.
Base. So back on the Vengeful Spirit once again. It's where a lot of important deaths happened, and none maybe more so than Horus himself, ending and destroying his heresy and paving the way for Abaddon to fill his boots. So, what do we know about the death of Horus, and why is it so goddamn important?
Horus finally gets the time with his dad, some true father-son bonding time, right? And they have this epic fight between the Emperor, who's supposed to be absolutely unmatched in combat, and Horus, who is fully infused with Chaos Undivided, like super swole Horus. And there's not really a way that the Emperor looks like he's going to win this fight. And Horus just completely fucks up the Emperor. He like slices through his chest, slices through his eye, like hits him with a psychic blast, melts off his face, then breaks his back. A lot of back breaking going on. And the Emperor is on the floor, and Horus is about to go and finish him off because the Emperor is kind of held back. That's what the story goes. The Emperor can't bring himself to fully finish off Horus. And then this unknown warrior walks in between them. And this is one of the big mysteries of this part of the lore, that someone steps in the way between Horus finishing off the Emperor and gives the Emperor just enough time to recover. So I guess we should think about who that might be.
It's Euphrates Keeler, the woman that that had an affair with Horus. She's come back like, hey Horus, I've come back. You're such a dirty slag. Have an argument on
Maybe some washerwoman or something.
Yeah.
Some medieval washerwoman.
Hey, you think you're so big and tough now?
She steps straight out of Monty Python, straight onto the Vengeful Spirit. She's not only does she start the imperial cult, start the religion, but also stands in the way.
I think it's the crossover no one knew we wanted. It's Garfield. He's coming.
Oh, yeah. That's
a good shout. Who else can it be? Because
but maybe this is in a way, it's kind of cool that it's just a random, because that's the most 40k thing, is the most important person in the entire universe. And what Matt's been alluding to this whole episode is the fact that it's the unknown soldier, it's the just random dickhead that makes the entire. So all these big ponces in their big gold armor running around breaking each other's backs, and who saves the day in the end? Just average. Like you say, some fucking, guy comes in, it's just like, oh shit. Imagine if you're just a guardsman and you run in on Horus standing over the Emperor. You're just like, oh, fucking hell, it's down to me. It's down to Gary the guardsman to jump over and fucking save the day.
Well, but it doesn't even say that it's just a person. It just says unknown warrior. So it doesn't have to be a bog standard human. This bit of lore that will
could be Garfield.
I was thinking, what if it's Alfarius or something truly
I can see that.
Someone that steps out the shadows, or one of the unknown legionaries, or something massive that really throws open.
What even if it was like one of the other chaos driven Primarchs, like Angron or someone, is like, fuck, like I'm gonna be the best. No, I'm gonna be the best.
It could be any. It could be. It's just cool. What if it's Abaddon?
Yes. Yep. I can see that as well.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm not going to let you do this, Dad.
Yeah.
You can't kill my granddad. This is too much.
Yeah. Or just like, no, I'm not going to let you kill him. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you. So
that's
I can
enough
kill
conspiracy theories there, because what happens after that is the Emperor recovers, uses all of his will, and lances Horus just full on. Boom. Horus gone.
This is psychic power, isn't it?
Psychic lance, from his
excellent.
crippled body. And then obviously people have to scoop him up and put him in some kind of stasis field, in this case a throne.
Although it made me another best death is Malkador the Sigillite. He sacrifices himself to maintain the Golden Throne while the Emperor has to go and fight Horus, doesn't he? And his sacrifice saves Earth. And because he saves Earth, he allows the Emperor to fight Horus. Without him, the Emperor couldn't have been in both places at once. And what is he? He's like a withered, dusty husk when the Emperor comes back on the Golden Throne. He's just it's just destroyed him.
There's something dodgy about. There's always something dodgy about Malkador, but there's all the stuff about him basically eating perpetuals to kind of power himself up for this thing.
I the other couple of weeks ago, I thought maybe the person that distracts Horus is Malkador, but actually it's because Malkador is evil, and actually Malkador has created the Horus heresy, and Horus is Malkador's puppet to try and take over for the Emperor.
And whatever have these last two big deaths that we've talked about, Sanguinius and Horus, is really exciting to me. And I know a lot of our listeners who've read and invested so many hours into the Black Library audiobooks, or so many hours into reading Black Library, that we are 2, maybe 3 books, maybe just 1 book away from this becoming canon to the extent that the rest of the Black Library things are. These things that were sentences in the rule book that are about to be fleshed out into something epic and hopefully written by Dan Abnett that's just insane at the end here. And all these bits, maybe they don't even fill everything in, maybe they still leave some of these bits hanging, but I'm super excited to read these to the extent that we've talked about the other deaths.
I'm sure that it's going to answer a lot of questions, but I'm sure there's going to leave a few hanging as well. Like, even once you found out who the unknown warrior is, he's the unknown warrior in his dying breath looks back to the unknown warrior that's lurking in the shadows and gives a little wink or something.
Oh my god.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they woke up and it was all a dream. So those are the biggest deaths, right? Without those happening in 30k, there wouldn't be a 40k rule book, there wouldn't be the law, there wouldn't be anything that happens, the degradation, the collapse of the Imperium, everything that happens afterwards is a result of how that fight goes. The near death of the Emperor and the death of Horus. But as Matt has been alluding to, I think the best death in all 40k, 30k isn't the big guy, isn't the Emperor really dying, isn't Primarchs getting their heads cut off or letting assassins kill them. It's the humble guardsman giving his life for the cause. And there's no humbler guardsman than Ollie Pearce. So this is from Saturnine. I feel like I have to do some kind of guard voice, but I don't really want to, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ollie Pearce now stood alone. Old Bess, his trusted lasgun in one hand and the Imperial banner in the other, alone on the bridge.
So that's what a Primarch looks like. Shitting ball bags, big as hell itself. Come on then, see what happens. Come and show me what all the bloody fuss is about.
Angron, the Red Angel, started to charge. The yards shook, the banner shivered.
Up and Terrico ho! Throne of Terror!
And then the banner, soaked in sprays of blood, slipped from the broken pole and fluttered to the ground. That's Ollie Pearce, lone Imperial Guardsman, facing down Angron at the gates of terror.
Yeah.
Is there anything that can sum up 40k more than that?
Yeah, very cool. So I think we're all in agreement here that the guardsmen have it. It's the guards, the heroic death of these guardsmen are truly the ones that stand out in our minds. 1 billion, trillion souls thrown to the meat grinder, and keep that Imperium alive, keep that Imperial dream going, keep that old bag of bones up on his throne.
Shitting ball bags is my favourite guard phrase in all of these. You need to read Saturnine because that doesn't do it justice.
That should become, you know how like some of the Primarchs, they've got like cool nicknames, so it'd be like Vulcans, like the Drake or whatever. It should be like Angeron, the fucking bullbag, the shitting bullbag.
Check this out. You know the deal.
So, welcome back to the most exciting part of the show, the random topic generator where we roll the company dice, which Welshie has released from its chemically sealed chamber and is ready to roll right now, I think, as we speak. Is that not right, Welshie?
Oh, it's a 3. With the new Horus Heresy coming out, so this must have been on here for ages. Which faction would you collect and why?
All right, so we're talking old school Space Marines. This is just when they're all, none of them are, so you could be Death Guard and not have them all covered in mushrooms and stuff. They could just be a little bit looking a little like, like Welshie was the other day, runny noses, nothing crazy.
You could also have Sisters of Silence Custodies or AdMech, I believe, in the rule set.
And
oh, really?
What about the Solar Auxilia?
Of course, Matt Solar Auxilia.
Auxilia.
You've heard a lot about.
Well, those are all options. Maybe we should stick to Space Marines, though.
I don't know. I reckon go with what you want. Like, let's say, because there's lots of stuff in the one of the things that people I've heard people complain about with Horus Heresy games is that there's no Xenos factions, but there's loads of Xenos factions written into the Horus Heresy because, like the people that Fulgrim kills to get the weird sword and the weird spider guys in some of these other ones.
The murder,
yeah. So I'd like to see some of the Xenos races. Obviously, playing in hindsight, none of them are going to make it through to the end of the full campaign. But,
or will they?
It'd be cool if they made some of the models, and it'd be quite fun to play with some of those.
I completely agree. Yeah, some demons or some lots of the stuff that we talk about when we talk about weird Xenos actually occur in 30k. That would be cool to bring back, like the sloth, the ones that are just the time warping ones that have weird time fields around them that make everything entropy and decay. The enslavers, loads of that's mentioned in 30k. But anyway, those aren't options because you can't bloody buy them, so you've got to pick someone else.
Okay then. Well, I quite like, I really like the Galvor back range. I know that word bearers are a bit shit, but that particular range is really cool.
I agree.
I also quite like, the Night Lords are pretty cool as well.
I think, Matt, what do you reckon? Would you go AdMech in 30k?
No, I don't like the walkers. Don't like the funny
there's lots of robots.
Walkers. I like some of the heavier transports and stuff, but it doesn't really appeal to me. I do like the Solar Auxilia, which is like the original Imperial Guard. I like some of the. It's a very small model range, but I like some of the tanks and some of the infantry units for that. I think they're quite cool. I'd probably collect that, to be honest. But if I was to choose a Space Marine Legion, to be honest, trying to think of all the options, but I always go back to Emperor's Children.
Oh yeah, that's a cool model range actually from the Forge world. Those cool blaster weapons they have and stuff. Yeah. And they've got some really cool characters as well, actually, like the guy with the jump pack and the
Eidolon is the new one.
Yeah. The new. We haven't talked about the new Lucius model.
Oh,
that's
true. Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, watch out for Model Spotlight for that one.
For sure. But, I think I'd go White Scars. I really like the White Scars Forge World range. I like
good choice.
Yeah, they are good.
I
was
like
thinking that
the idea
myself.
of painting white because all my 40k armies are black. It seems really basic, but I think their detailing is really good. The kind of real samurai style into some of the armor plates and swords and things.
They've got those weird kind of dick-shaped jet bikes though in 30k, haven't they? Those weird
like those,
they look like a foam finger,
And the Khan, new Khan model is just spectacular. I don't have it yet.
Well, you know what? I haven't pulled the trigger yet, so I'm going to go now. I'm going to go Iron Hands because it was at least you could have had them before Ferrus Manus died when they were still proud. And I think that's kind of cool. It's a nice mix of like mechanical stuff, like, kind of half robot guys with weird eyes and all that kind of stuff.
I think there's great conversion potential. Like the Sigismund book I've just listened to, there's an Iron Hand, like pre-heresy, who's almost entirely metal. Like it's just his chin to all extents, but it isn't automated. So sounds pretty cool.
No, I think they're kind of a cool underrated faction, to be honest. So I'm going with them. So welcome back everybody to the last part of the show, the Lords of Lore quiz, and you already know how this works. We do a quiz And we see who wins. Usually comes down to a question at the end. Some critics say, but those people are wrong because we're going to do a quick fire one this time to do with successor chapters. Okay, boys. I'm gonna fire off some names, and I want you to tell me what is the what's the daddy chapter to these successors.
I'm gonna be so bad at this.
And quick fire. Okay.
Daddy chapter or Daddy Legion?
Legion.
Daddy Legion to these successors.
Daddy Legion.
Daddy Legion.
Daddy. Yeah, that's
Daddy Legion. Okay. Woo. Cool. So, if neither of you guys know, just say don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Storm Wings.
White Scars. White Scars.
No, Raven Guard. Templars of Blood.
Imperial Fists.
But I'll go Black Templars just to be different, even though they're not a Legion.
No, Blood Angels.
Okay.
These are all going to be tricks. I don't know any of these, Matt. This is just going to be
I don't know them either.
I'm literally just looking them up as I talk to you, so I don't know them either. Vindicators.
White Scars.
I'll go Ultramarines.
That's a point to you, Welshie. 1 point to you. White Templars.
Imperial Fists.
White Scars.
That's a point to you, Matt. White Imperial Fists. What about the Wolf Spears?
Space Wolves.
So, I'm going to go Space Wolves too, because he doesn't get a point if that's right.
That's true. It's a point to both of you. It is both. What's the name? Doom Eagles. I think we talked about these guys.
Blood Angels. Yeah, but not Blood Angels.
Salamanders.
Salamanders, you're both wrong. It's the Ultramarines. I'll tell you why we've talked about these guys before, because they come from the planet fucking Birmingham.
I love Birmingham.
Death Spectres.
Night Lords.
Ultramarines.
Oh, I'm afraid it was the Raven Guard.
I don't know why I'm guessing Chaos chapters.
Yeah,
They don't
you're
have second
yeah.
I'm just going with things that sound like they belong.
Dark Krakens.
Space Wolves.
Ultramarines.
No, it's Salamanders.
Yeah.
The Disciples of Caliban.
Dark Angels.
Dark Angels.
That's a point for each of you on 3 apiece as we move into the final question. Worth. Only 1 point. Doesn't really matter how much it's worth on this one.
Okay.
You're both coming in. Emperors, Warbringers.
Ultramarines.
Ultramarines from that.
Imperial Fists.
Imperial Fists from Welshie. Welshie, you won. 4 points to 3. Welshie, you're the winner.
What a day.
How does it feel to win a legitimate quiz in a way?
I've thrown off the shrugs of Nurgle and I've won a real quiz.
Damn right. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Say goodbye.
Don't die too soon.